Here we are, the boys in Palaye Royale. How are you guys?
Wonderful.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for coming in so early, by the way. I got nervous, I was saying, when I saw you last night, Sebastian, at like 11:30. You're not really morning people.
No, we're not. But I got up early today. I'm fucking stoked.
To be clear, it's not 8 o'clock in the morning for those of you listening at home, or 6 o'clock in the morning. It's a little bit later in the day.
It's 11:30.
Yeah. But Remington, I also saw you were in the studio with like Little Huddy last night. So again, I just get nervous because you're not you're sort of nocturnal. I think you do your best work at night.
Yeah, I can't really function during sunlight hours. So
well, it goes with the whole vampire theme.
Yeah, a little bit of that, and also just it takes a few hours for my brain to really turn on.
That's true.
Wait, did you just say studio?
Yeah.
Already working?
Last night.
Oh.
Oh yeah, but we're already working on new stuff.
But last night you were in the studio with Little Huddy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can we talk about that? Or
Yeah. He's we're just collabing on a song together, and he's such a fucking sweet kid. And, he just wants to make some fucking good rock music. And we were just there, and we just blew his mind with some riffs and some fucking heavy screams and shit. And honestly, it's a great track, and he's a fucking sweet kid.
It's like Little Huddy goes Screamo or something.
A little bit. It's we're kind of influencing a little bit of a heavier rock sound with him.
Like, and Sebastian, we were talking. You were at the Harry Styles show.
I exited the studio to go see Harry Styles.
Sure.
It was a good excuse.
Very, very timely, by the way. Me and Daniel were speaking about it's on the heels of the Grammy nomination. So
Yeah.
How was the show? I heard you
Fantastic.
couldn't hear anything. People were
But
screaming.
didn't he get someone throw something at him again?
I think the night before, someone threw Skittles in his eyes, and they thought that he wasn't going to be able to see or something. I don't. But it's strange because the Harry Styles crowd, they don't scream after. They scream the whole song, and then when the song's done, they have this chant that goes ooh 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 every song. And you're like, you look around and he's like, is this a football game? It's the weirdest thing of a bunch of 16-year-old girls just doing
You can't hear the music. It's like the Beatles or something.
I couldn't hear it. The screams were so loud. They were mostly coming from me, but it was crazy.
Did you see Ben Harper open for him?
I didn't. I saw him. He went on stage. I got there late because I was in the studio with them. But
It
Ben
just
Harper
seems
was
like
great.
an interesting pairing.
It was interesting because when they brought Ben Harper, he was like, he did the encore, and he's like, I want to bring my favorite person on that wrote a song on the record, Ben Harper, and it's such an interesting pairing, especially for the audience of Harry Styles fans, especially One Direction fans. They definitely don't know who Ben Harper is,
right.
But at least he's able to influence at least a different type of music versus being the obvious opener for him. That would have probably been. He's able to curate things that he likes artistically, which is
And he
cool.
was nominated also for a Grammy for blues album, so you couldn't get any different than that.
Jeez.
Well, there's a lot
crazy.
to unpack here. Obviously, I think we were just talking about it before you came in. You guys have been on the show now 4 times. So thank you for not only being my great friend,
Of course.
but being and we work together.
We love
There's
it
so much. 4-time alumni, I guess. So a lot to get into the new record, Fever Dream. Obviously, we were just chatting about the record, the sold out tour. You just did a tour with Mod Sun and a lot of dates with Youngblood that you just finished. And I believe that you just announced something on your Instagram. It might have been today. I don't even know what it was. A mysterious 9 a.m., 5 a.m., 2 p.m. I don't know what that is.
It's the weirdest thing.
I don't even know what it is.
It was for 2 years with the pandemic and making the record. There was no press. There's nothing on about the band. And then this month, it's a new magazine cover every 3 or 4 days. So it's another magazine cover.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk. We can sort of get into that a little bit. But by the way, you guys look great. We were just speaking about your suits, Sebastian. The only time I've not seen you dressed like this is potentially when you're jogging, which I don't really see you jogging, but I hear that you don't wear this.
No, I wear a Puma tracksuit. I'm trying to get that endorsement. I'm trying to take it from Dua Lipa, but
She have a Puma?
Yeah, Puma,
Good
yeah.
for her. She earned it.
obviously.
Yeah, but pretty much majority of the clothing comes from our custom suit line or the cosmetic company. Everything is pretty much Palaye in some way.
We were joking. Next time we do this, me and Daniel will be dressed up in 3-piece suits. We'll be wearing
Got it.
hats. It'll be a whole.
It's all about the vibe.
Little monocles, little canes.
It's the Step Brothers thing when they walk in and they're wearing suits.
We're not going to look like the Monopoly guys.
It's really cool though if you do.
Well, listen, I just saw you all at the Palladium. It was a fantastic show. I didn't get to see you after. It's definitely the best show I've ever seen you perform ever. And so,
Thank you.
Congratulations. It's funny, you left your house 2015. You really never looked back.
Yeah.
You've been touring ever since. And I love the story of how you were passing out flyers at the Wilter in 2015. I think maybe it was the Arctic Monkeys. I'm not sure who you were passing out flyers
Yeah,
in
it was
front of.
Arctic
when we
Monkey.
started.
Anyone we could really go to a concert and just pass out flyers for. We did it with when Lord was playing, Arctic Monkeys, Arcade Fire. We passed out flyers.
Any show.
Any
It's been interesting
really.
to see our like trajectory, and it's a nice staging that we can do in LA. We were passing out flyers at the El Rey and then the Fonda and the Wiltern and the Palladium. So it's now we've sold out all those venues going up. Palladium wasn't sold out, but it was definitely a full house, and it was a nice show. But it's cool to see we keep on climbing, kind of like the ranks, and to like it's a cool thing to have, because everywhere else in Europe and stuff we'll jump from 250 people to 4,000 people. So it's like the jumps in Europe are insane, but America, it's like, all right, you go up another 200 people, another 500 people.
You got to work for it.
Yeah.
So, we're definitely we're putting in the effort.
Yeah.
But honestly, it was just so cool. We were like all on cloud nine because, it's funny. Like, I've seen so many shows at the Palladium. And actually, like, we were there during soundcheck and seeing it with nobody in it during soundcheck. I was like, fuck, this is a big room.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, it felt so good to go on that stage and just seeing the floor just covered with people, and then like the balconies. It was a beautiful moment. I'm really proud of us for doing that.
And the Palladium, and next step is after Palladium, it's the Shrine, and then you're playing arenas.
Yeah.
So you're definitely trending in the right direction.
Yeah.
That's the way you want to go.
Yeah. Remington always wanted to do the Greek, but then always the risk that you run into with the Greek is it's such a quiet
the
venue.
dB limit.
And we're such a loud band.
True.
Like
That's
our
true.
amps on stage would already be past the dB limit. So
But when you and I met, you were playing the Roxy, so
Yeah.
it's great to see this meteoric rise. And we've been, I've sort of been with you this whole time, like watching you grow. But it is interesting. We were speaking a lot about what happened during the tour. I mean, it's crazy what happened. I mean, your tour manager quit. I believe the lighting guy quit like a day before the Palladium.
Yeah.
And you've always kind of been involved in the management.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
3
talk to
tour
us-
buses broke down.
Yeah, like what?
And
what
the first day, we were like, we have 2 tour buses, one for the crew, one for the band. We're like, this is going to be magical. This is awesome. They didn't even, I woke up, I was going to fly to the first gig. It was 9 a.m. and I get a call. They're like, yeah, the bus hasn't left. I was like, what do you mean? You were supposed to leave 12 hours ago. They're like, yeah, we're still at the rehearsal room. Both buses broke down. We packed up. I missed my flight. Went there, got a U-Haul, packed up everything. We drove to Phoenix. Got there, played 20 minutes before doors. Got there and set up, and then like a week later, our tour manager quit, and then I tour managed the whole entire tour. So it's just the responsibility is just no matter what level we get to, I always feel like we're still touring in our mom's car.
It keeps you honest, right?
I'm over it. I'm over it. I just want to
just
enjoy
feel like-
playing music.
I feel like we're the biggest fucking amateur band of all fucking time, because everything that happens in our life, we're just like, this is such an amateur production. I'm like, we're fucking carrying lights on to stage ourselves. We're like, these guys were sleeping on merch boxes because our trailer broke. Like, I was like, didn't we already pass this stage in our lives? I was like, why the fuck are we still sleeping on merch boxes?
So it doesn't have the same romantic feel that it had years ago then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Because
your
you
mother kind
expect-
of used to manage the band like early on, right?
Yeah, she
very,
did.
very early on. So you probably got that in a way from your family, just growing up around. I think your mom was like, all right, you play piano, you play drum, right? You were all
Yeah.
trying to find your instrument early on.
Yeah, she gave us piano lessons when we were super young as kids, which was great. And then we just kind of took the music to where we have been now. But I think it's luckily she was a rock and roll photographer, so she introduced us to like the collection was Bowie and T-Rex, but she was out on tour with like Stiv Bators and Johnny Thunders. So like the rock history was the truest form you possibly can get. So we were basically getting the best schooling of music from day one. So
I can definitely say our mothers were not on tour with Johnny Thunder. So I don't know about your mother, Daniel, but I know my mother was not.
She was not.
It's interesting too, and we were talking like right before COVID. I heard the story you got in a fist fight, right? Like there's something you guys were on mushrooms. There was at an Austrian petrol station or something, gasoline station for everyone else in the U.S. But right, tell me that story. 'Cause it sounded,
So
I know you, so that seems about right. But
that's 100% accurate.
Yeah.
Right?
Checks out.
We were playing Reading and Leeds Fest, and we were just going on 4 years of hard touring. We just didn't stop, and we were in a Sprinter van, and we were just all getting on each other's fucking nerves because
we just got to the bus stage and we're like, you know what? It's 3 days. We could do a Sprinter. It's fine. We could do hotels in a Sprinter. Never go back.
I was going to say that doesn't sound promising at all.
because we did like.
We're like, why are we
'cause we had to
sitting so
go
close to
from,
each other?
from Tokyo to Australia and then to Reading and Leeds, and
Yeah.
so we were just not sleeping at all because so many flights, and obviously we can't afford first class, so we're like shoved between like 3 people, and you're just like, and then you get off the plane and have to immediately play a show. So we're not sleeping, we're fucking cranky. And then I was like, you know what, shrooms will make us feel better.
I almost brought some today.
That would have been perfect. This would have been like the first 6-hour podcast, just talking about life.
No, but we have it filmed, so eventually
we do have it filmed.
when we do our documentary,
I gotta
it'll
release
come
that.
out.
Oh, for sure.
It's not the best fight you would imagine. I'm sure in their head it felt like...
It felt so serious, and then looking back, it's just like...
Remington did though.
Because Emerson was like, okay, rules, you can't punch each other in the face. We're like, okay, fine, and then
So
I
it's like
just saw his
Anchorman.
face.
Yeah, exactly.
Then I saw his face, and I
Don't
was
touch
like,
the hair.
I have to punch it. And then it was probably the worst fight you've ever seen.
We've gotten better, though. I think that was probably the last fist fight we've been in.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I was telling Daniel, because he doesn't know the story about how you guys used to literally punch each other in the face before you went on stage.
Even on stage.
On stage, right.
Yeah.
So-
We would like spit, like our friend that lives with us from Crown the Empire. His favorite story, like telling anyone that's like brand new to our circus, is like he was watching Side Stage once, and like we like spit on each other or whatever, and he always tries to talk to me during shows, and I have no idea what he's saying. And
So
then
just go up and go, and I'm like, what? And then like, because he looks angry when he's saying it.
So then, like,
but sometimes he's actually saying, you're doing a great job. And then I was like, why don't you go fuck yourself? And then we just
I don't think it was that time, but like I like spit at him, and I threw a drumstick, and then he kicked like half of my drums away.
This is while we're playing. So we at that point we were just plug and play. Like there was nothing else. And
But I
the
think
moment
that-
you lose the drum set and a guitar, you're
Like,
just
when we
what's
were
going on?
growing up, we were like chess players, but we also did ice hockey. So like we have this like strategic anger within us. You know, what I
the
mean?
Canadian in you.
Yeah.
It sounds like a crazy hardcore show, though, the way you guys are describing it.
Well, the shows, I think, due to where we were thrown into when we got evicted and when we got signed, we're like, well, what do we do? And they're like, well, you got no money. You guys should go work a job. And we're like, well, we're just gonna go tour then.
Yeah,
And so
well,
so
we took any opening slot,
Yeah,
and then
we
that resulted
did
in
not
like
wanna get any
being
job.
one of 5 for like deathcore metal bands
and playing
you know?
like in
You're literally playing for pizza and beer, and I think our guarantee was $25.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
for like
so-
2 years.
But like that, being around that environment and us just doing what we were doing, it kind of like formed and molded us into this like having to be a bit more aggressive on stage. Like I would destroy my drum kit. And
Remington will be 20 feet up from the rafters, jumping in the
That's
crowd.
kind of why
you
I
know?
started going crazy on stage, because the first couple shows opening for like a bunch of death metal bands, you can't get away with just taking off your shirt and
a tough
having some
crowd.
blush
It's a
on.
tough crowd. Especially when you're playing rock and roll.
For that crowd,
and we
so you
still
kinda had
always
to-
looked like this. Like, and no matter where we've been in our lives, we are true to our individuality because that's all we know how to do. Like, I don't know how to dress different. So, like, even going to open for like a death metal band, it's like we're still gonna do what we do, And I think that's a really important lesson that we've kind of integrated into our fans' identity, where it's like no matter who you're with, as long as you feel true to yourself, that's all that matters in this world.
By the way, what was the strangest bill you've ever been on?
Oh, there was a lot of weird ones.
Was it like Tiffany and you and like Celtic Frost or something? I'm just joking.
We did play.
Thinking of, like-
We weren't on the same bill, but we did play the same night as it was Mayhem and then Rotting Christ, and that was
Yeah.
so it was being around all those people.
You didn't wear the makeup on that show, or maybe did you?
Oh yeah,
You did.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you gotta.
No, it's weird because those bands are so intricate with like their basically art design from the album covers to their stage show, and Emerson was so enamored because he does all the artwork, and he walked up there and they had this massive backdrop that was really intricate. And
There's this band called Watain, which in death metal band, and it was like early in our career, so I didn't really know like tour etiquette where you can't just kind of like go on and walk around and like go on people's stage and shit. And I did, and there was this beautiful, because I love drawing and stuff, and there was this beautiful like Renaissance looking backdrop, and I go on the stage and I was like, oh, who drew this? Who did this art? And it was like some Swedish guy. He goes, get the fuck off my stage or I will kill you. And I was like, fair enough.
By the way, you don't want to mess around with Mayhem. If I remember correctly, it's one of the Norwegian like black metal bands.
Yeah.
They're not. It's no joke over there. Those people are like killing each other. It's
Yeah,
not really,
it's intense.
You
Did
don't
you
want to
ever
mess
see
around with the
did you see
stage.
the
'Cause
movie?
I did. That's
Great
what I
film.
mean. You don't want to.
That's what inspired, actually. We were watching that movie on loop for the Bastards era, which probably probably wasn't the best, but
Yeah, we were in the middle of
You were in the
fucking
middle-
Joshua Tree, not a neighbor for half a mile, you know. And
We were
then
watching Lords of
Chaos.
Chaos.
we were watching, and then like The Hills Have Eyes. We were watching fucked up movies, and then just and then we're like, oh, let's go fucking heavy, and then we made the Bastards record, which I'm actually really proud of.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one.
It's a
I like parts of it.
it was fun because there's no fucking rules to this thing, which is great. Sometimes we want to go heavier, and sometimes we want to go more of a pop route. If we have a country song in us, we're gonna fucking do that.
I think that's like
there's no fucking
I think
rules
Line
to
It
this
Up
thing.
was like a beautiful thing. It was we were literally just playing while Chris was when we were doing the Fever Dream album. Chris was sitting at the computer doing his thing, editing, and we're just like, can we just get on? And I start playing like these cowboy chords. And Remington
Cowboy
goes-
chords.
And Remington, what was the original?
I can't remember.
But he was singing in a country accent.
I was going full twang, and then like when I was doing the recording, Chris had to stop it during Line It Up. He's like, "Okay, you're doing the twang too much. You gotta stop."
And then LP came on the track, and that was just like, oh wow, all right, cool. And I think that's the weirdest thing for our career. It's never been like, here's the silver platter, and like you're gonna be able to do whatever you want. It's always been like you have to earn your every step of the way, and I think it always keeps you hungry, which is the good thing. It's never like anything's solved out for you. So when you do get those like accomplishments of like touring and doing our first arena shows in Europe, you just have such more of care and appreciation for it. And having like LP coming on a track, it's like
That was huge, yeah.
and it's just but it was out of just us meeting one night, getting fucked up. Played her the song. She's like, I want to be a part of it.
There's got to be more to the story than that.
No, literally. We're sitting at her house drinking wine. I was playing her the song, and she's like, one of my favorite songs I've heard in a long time. She texted me the next day, and she's like, can I please be on that track?
By the
I
way,
was
you say it casually, but
Yeah.
your friends of your house are like Post Malones of your house, LPs
Yeah.
of your house, you Måneskin's of your house.
Yeah.
Like you don't have
We-
me and Daniel of your house. It's like you have like literally you're like, what are you doing
I have you
tonight?
over my house.
Well, I know, but I just mean like Post Malone's over my house tonight. These are your friends that are literally Pussy Riot, right? I think
Yeah.
Nadia's a great friend.
Nadia's
of
on
yours.
that
She's
track on the
she's
record.
on one of our
Right.
tracks. She's so cool. I love her.
I just think it's because when people genuinely see us, it doesn't matter where we are on a status level of like success. They just realize that we're genuine musicians that give a shit about art, and then you end up meeting like-minded people like a Post Malone that actually gives a shit about music, and then like Måneskin, they care about music, and they care about the arts and everything that surrounds it and being original. And I
also,
think that's what
we're pretty
makes
fun
it.
to party with.
Yeah, I think when you reach a certain point of like touring for so long, you reach this point where you just like you want to hang out with people that will just like cut the bullshit, and it's like it doesn't have to be this like facade. It's just like we're all here, just have a good
You can just
time.
relax. You can just have fun.
It's not a social media photo shoot that you have to like, oh, we're with each other, we need to take a picture. It's like, no.
And you like,
hang
and the
out,
great
have a
thing
good
is like
conversation.
the funny thing is when we're like hanging out with all the people, like the last thing that we talk about is like the fucking music industry. That's the
Yeah.
fucking last thing we
Yeah.
want.
Like, why would you want? It's like talking about work. Why would you want
Yeah,
to talk
exactly.
about work when you're hanging out with your friends?
Yeah, it's
Exactly.
like I can't tell you how many like parties I've gone to where it's just only talking about music. I was like, yeah, dude, I live it every fucking second of every day. I'm like, let's talk about fucking the weather. I don't give a fuck. Let's talk about Costco prices. This is great.
By the way, I've been talking about partying. Like, I don't think I have been to a strip club in like 20 years since
Yeah.
my like hair metal days. And I went with you.
Yeah.
And then we literally
Which one?
Where's she asking?
I don't know. It's
I don't know. It was
guys
on
go?
La Cienega.
I forget.
We got
It's always
kicked.
these weird names, but we got kicked out.
My fiance got us kicked out in the first 2 minutes.
How'd you wait? You got to. You can't
How'd you get
drop
kicked
that
out?
story and without getting kicked out and just not share it.
You haven't met his fiance.
She's very original.
I'll let Sebastian tell the story. But
No, we walked in and she
curious
went.
about
No,
this
she went to go
story.
buy lap dances for all the girls that were there, and then she was in the room, and then they're like, "You can't be here." She's like, "But I paid like $500 for like 3 dances for everybody."
But she didn't say it like that. Probably.
No,
She probably
she said it like that,
She said
didn't
it away. And then they were like, "You need to get out of here." And then one of her friends got on the stripper pole, and I'm like, "All right, this is me and Scott have stayed on there." We're like, "We're just,"
which I don't think you could do. I don't think you're allowed to just randomly.
It's frowned
jump on
upon.
stage.
It's frowned upon.
Yeah.
Not that I've been in 20 years.
It was
but,
that Simpsons Homer thing going through the hedges. You're just like, "Ooh, get out of here."
Well, let's talk about the new record. Obviously, you had a lot of time to make this record, and you were pretty prolific. I mean, during this time period, during the pandemic, you were doing like live shows. You
Yeah.
were still kind of finding a way to be pretty active. So talk to us about like how this came about. And my favorite thing about this record is that you did it in like a haunted house or something, right?
Yeah,
Somewhat haunted mansion.
It
when
was,
the
it was my
Bastards-
house, and it was haunted.
Yeah, it was
Absolutely.
haunted.
Yeah.
But the Bastards album came out in 2020, and there was, right in the middle of pandemic. Black Lives Matter was happening that week, so there was like the moment that record came out, we're like, we're not even talking talking about it. There's a lot more important things in the world happening. And then the next week, we're like, well, let's make another album. And so we went to Malibu, and we rented a beach house with our friend Chris. And, you know, that was the first album he produced by himself. And now he's gone on to doing the whole Youngblood record, Willow record, Yves Tumor record.
Now he's too good for us, aren't you, Chris?
He's like the fourth member.
Nah,
He literally is.
Yeah.
And
He's
that
like
was
our fucking best friend.
He told us, he's like, all right, if you guys aren't cool, we were really in a dark place of we couldn't be in the same room with one another. And he's like, if you're not cool with one another and like treat each other with respect, I'm not gonna make this record with you. So it really put us in our place, but it actually stuck. Now we actually enjoy being around one another.
Yeah.
And we just spent literally Monday through Fridays, every single day, just working on the record, writing.
So much Postmates.
Yeah.
So much Postmates.
There was so much time we had, but also we were being very diligent, but also made the time of being, when everyone felt like they were stuck, we were just creating. And we were hanging out with the same like 10, 15 people on the weekends, and it was like, all right, cool. We gained a lot of great friends, had a lot of great relationships. We're making the best album that we've ever made together that we all truly enjoy. And I think that's since our first album, we haven't had it that we've all been on the same page, that we're stoked about everything together.
Yeah.
So it was a great.
How
great time.
important was the vibe, and was it were you right on the beach, or were you up in the hills?
We were
a bit?
right on the beach.
So how important was that to like the sunny disposition of what was to become in the writing process?
It just felt like we were on vacation the whole time, and it also was kind of like in a place of it being such a hard situation for the rest of the world. It was a much needed break for our careers. Bad it is to say, like we were able to at least be humans again, and it was like, all right, cool. We're not feeling any vibes. Let's go swim. And we had this thing called Sunset Swim. We just go boogie
Mandatory
boarding,
swims. You had to wake up every morning, go boogie boarding.
have a shot.
Yeah.
It's very summer camp.
It was great.
It was amazing, and we spent like 2 weeks at the beach, and to be honest, I kind of forgot that the pandemic was happening. So I walked back out and tried to go into a grocery store, and they're like, "Where's your fucking mask?" I was like, "Oh my god, that's right. The world is fucked right now."
And then we
about
kind of like recorded the whole thing at our house. It was like right across the street from the Hollywood Bowl. And it was beautiful. I was definitely haunted. Like the original guy that lived there, because it's in the Whitley Heights like historic thing. So the first person that moved in there was his name was Maurice Chevalier. It's like this Frank Sinatra like French singer. It's really cool, amazing. But he like massacred his wife in the
house.
In the house,
Wow.
yeah. And then in the
There's gotta be some bad vibes in that house.
I mean
It's
like
weird. It's weird vibes
weird.
for sure.
Like I do all this like Dracula dark kind of like Chopin styled piano stuff. I did this like side project called Alistair, which like is the soundtrack for our graphic novel. So while I was recording and stuff, I would hear this like this man talking in the other room in my headphones, and I'll take it off, and you didn't hear anything. So I think there was like certain frequencies that
Was
you
that
could
Chris, or
tap
was that
into.
just
No,
about
I was alone. Yeah. But I think like as long as you create a good atmosphere and a good energy, like ghosts won't fuck with you.
Yeah, did you feel that vibe of? Okay,
because like after this guy murdered his wife, there was another death in the house. It was like this actress that moved into the house in like the 60s, and she OD'd in the house.
See, I would not want to be in that house. I don't know about you, Daniel.
Because I
don't feel
no
like
thanks.
I didn't know
That's
this,
just not
because we
like-
did research after. I was like, okay, so there was one
It
night.
wasn't us even. It was people that were coming over to our house and they would like see these things, and then they started researching, and then they told us. They're like, you know
'cause
about this.
There was one night that I just got so freaked out. So I was walking downstairs, just going to get some water. I was sober, so I was like, I wasn't like seeing some crazy shit. And so I walk downstairs, just go get some water before I go to bed. And then, like, I just see this woman in, like, a white dress just go into the bathroom. And I'm just like, fucking run upstairs, start screaming to bloody hell. I was like, what the fuck is going on? And then Andy's like, my roommate, he was like, dude, what's going on? I was like, dude, there's a lady in a white dress in the bathroom. And he goes, dude, you're tripping out. And I was like, no, I'm not. I swear to God. And then we both go downstairs to go walk. And then the light bulb in my chandelier just goes and then breaks.
That
And it
wasn't
just
the night you
turns
were
off.
on mushrooms, right?
No.
Call it
crazy.
Ghostbusters, man.
Right?
So that was terrifying. And then like 2 nights after, I see like I'm like just sleeping, and then I keep hearing my roommate run up and down the stairs like crazy, just up and down. I'm like, what the fuck is this guy doing? And so I run to go fucking scream at him, and then I was like, no one was there. I go into his room. He's completely passed out. I was like, what the fuck?
See, I just wouldn't. I would get out of there in 2 seconds. I don't think I would.
I'm glad we moved. We moved. So
that's great. Well, let's talk about the tour for a moment. Obviously, you just got back. You know, it's interesting. I was talking to Dan about this. You know, when you're on stage, like I was at the Webster Hall show the other day, and literally I turned around behind me. I was on the balcony, and you were behind me. You're like, I've never seen a singer that dynamic in my whole. I've seen a lot of singers that are climbing on, you know, scaffolding, but never like literally on the balcony behind me. I was like, where the fuck? How did this happen? You know, so
just Lance Burton shit. Just
yeah. Do you ever get yourself in trouble? Do you have
all the
climb
time
up and stuff and things happen?
I get in trouble all the time from venues.
Live Nation has a
Well,
problem.
does the tour manager get upset about it?
Well, that would be me. No, I don't care. I'm like, go for it.
He actually has a letter from the UK government that
They're deeming me a threat to the people.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because apparently I'm a safety hazard to
We were banned from
any live audience.
all O2s for a little bit. I think that
Now
we're
back.
fine now.
Yeah,
but-
because we sold enough tickets, they're like, all right, we want you back.
You're banned for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah,
I
what's
think
the
when
thing?
he's doing his thing, if he's climbing on rafters or he's hanging off a balcony, usually leave the crazy guy alone. But like when things
Yeah,
get,
we were at the Palladium and I was hanging over the balcony, and the security guard starts shaking me. I was like,
Don't do
the
that.
last thing you want to do while someone's hanging over the balcony is shake them.
Yeah.
Especially when there's just a group. I was like, I know what I'm doing. I'm like, done this before because we were supposed to have someone clear it, but no one did. But yeah, that's never been good. But I have not fallen, so fucking, knock on wood on that one. But it's because I've always looked up to Eddie Vedder, like, and watching those old Pearl Jam videos. He's a madman, and I remember watching those as a kid, and I was just like, oh my god, he's a fucking rock god, and like, so I've always been inspired by him and like the the punk era, and like I feel like there's not much of that in today's
But in a
artists.
genuine way, I think that's the difference.
Yeah,
is-
obviously where it's not forced.
I feel there's so much of performance that people go on and they think it's a spectacle and they have to do it because it's something that they need to do. But when it's a genuine part of the performance and you're like, all right, that makes sense almost. It's like that's what you respect when the band's good on stage, but when you can you can go home and listen to a record, and if it sounds like the record, great. But once you start adding elements that you go to the show because it's going to be different every single time, and it's not at this beat, Remington's going to do this thing. I'm always looking around. I'm like, where is he? And we don't. There's a lot of the songs we just can extend because he's gone for 10 minutes. You know what I mean?
Inside the bass drum.
Literally.
But we grew up in an era, the Guns N' Roses era.
Yeah.
I mean, we could literally geek out on like Use Your Illusion 1 and 2, the B-sides and whatever it may be. So
But
when
what-
bands look like bands. So.
Exactly.
What you described was what always was attractive about Pearl Jam to me is just the rawness, the energy,
Yeah.
and the intensity.
Yeah.
And it's something that the fans pick up on, and they don't let go of it because they know that they're getting an honest, real performance.
Truly.
Yeah, and that's why Pearl Jam is obviously the music is fucking phenomenal, but they're still selling out multiple nights at stadiums every single night, and they've been a band for what, like 30, 40 years?
in the headliner tour that we were just on, towards the end especially, we would just start writing songs on stage, like in between the songs that we were going to play. And like we hit like we were all like tapped into something in San Francisco.
Yeah, we were at the Fillmore in San Francisco, and that was one. That was like, you can't be in that room and not just do something somewhat cool. Like you're never going to be as cool as the history
the
that's been there.
Doors is like one of our favorite bands, so we listened to the Doors before and after and everything. And I just looked at Andrew, our other guitar player, and I was like, "Give me some Pharaoh shit." And then we just kind of extended it for like 4 or 5 minutes or something, and it was amazing. And I don't
But
think
it's that
anyone
moment.
filmed
But
it.
it's that moment in time that's captured for those people and us. That's it. And that's what the moment is.
We wrote the
and that's
song
cool.
just for that audience. I don't even remember it.
Which is
that
cool.
was just for them, you know.
Well, how important, we were talking about it for a minute, but how important is image to you all? I mean, I know that we were joking around about you wearing that suit when you're jogging, but we grew up in a time period, again, we were talking about Guns N' Roses, and obviously I know that you're heavily influenced by the Stones and Zeppelin and bands like that. So, and you look at a lot of bands these days, and they have zero image. I mean, there's so many bands, actually some bands that have been on this show that I couldn't tell you who the singer was unless I, so... It's a real important part of one of the reasons I think we bond is because I love the fact that you're so image conscious and you're a great band, and I love your fashion sensibility.
I just we've always been about the art and the fashion and the music, and I think it's it's so important because all those are so intertwined. And you, as an artist, it's we're lucky that Emerson could do all the artwork and everything, and we can also style the band and we know how to do it. But sometimes it's like people have to always look for that to be craft who they are as people, and then there's no authenticness about it. But I think it's like when I go and see a show, the visuals, you want to see a visual. You want to, like, something needs to reel you in with the music, or the music reels you in, and then there's something that keeps you there. And it's interesting because a lot of people are like, I saw that band, like, scrolling, and I saw it on Instagram, and they're like, oh, they looked cool, and then they checked out the music, and it made sense. Or they heard the song on the radio, and then
I think
it all has to equal. And it's so important. I think that's tells the story of what you are as a band. And it's like you wouldn't go see a movie if you're going to go see a period piece movie and they're dressed in hoodies. It would just wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, because I feel like, you kind of, you surround yourself, with your environment, especially us growing up, and that was our environment growing up in Vegas. Not once did we see a Vegas show where someone was wearing a t-shirt. It's so fucking theatrical there, and obviously that was my entire childhood. Is you go see a show, it's this fucking the big costumes and like the crazy lights, and it's a whole thing to kind of escape your environment. So we grew up with that, and I feel like a lot of it just kind of sinked in, unconsciously.
Because now you have like fashion covers coming out every month. So talk to me about how important those are for a band like this. Because now you have the music to back it up too. So
I think we've always wanted to do something. For bands, it's you go play concerts, you do the thing, and it's cool. But I think there's only a few bands that we started doing fashion shows and playing on the runway while models are walking by, and Remington's literally hanging. There's a video of Remington hanging above.
I love playing to screaming fans, but I also love playing to just appalled people that have no idea what the fuck they're watching. That's almost as exciting to me as playing in front of just screaming people. When people are just like, the fuck is this?
Yeah, when we did Fashion Week here, and Remington literally was crawling on he was wearing a dress on all these like housewives that were in the front row, and their faces look like mortified, and it's like kind of the coolest thing and then after that they're like, that was the coolest thing, because they don't know how to react, and I think that's the fashion world. I think is just. It's outlandish,
and everyone just takes themselves so seriously. So when I like play these fashion shows, I just try to make the biggest fucking ass of myself, because everyone's just sitting there. We're just like, just like sitting front row at fucking 10 p.m. with sunglasses on. It's actually daytime right now. There's actually light peeking in, so you're good.
I'm very tired.
But especially LA fashion, it's like the Real Housewives or sitting front row and whoever.
It's fantastic.
Right? Interesting.
Everyone takes themselves so fucking seriously.
But I think also going to the fashion part of it, we've now realized, as the fan base has grown, and Emerson's been so good about curating and making taking staples that we do and making our own fashion lines and stuff. Walking into a room of people wearing like your band t-shirts is cool, but when you walk into a room and everyone's styled into like what you've created into this world, it's like one of the coolest things that you've created this generational difference.
The environment around the venue before the doors open, it's a Palaye show. You know,
they have the makeup, they have like all the scarves. And
it's so cool. Like you'll know when you see our audience, just like if you like go down the street and like see a line for the Grateful Dead, like you'll know you're at a Grateful Dead show,
or My Chem.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. And that they were one of the only few that have done that in the past 20 years, So that's always been something that we've always been so heavily on, because it was obviously the 70s bands were they were on their different wavelengths, but I feel like there's only been a few bands every decade that have done something on the theatrics, and we love the theatric part of rock and roll.
So we've been planning kind of this traveling festival circus type event that will encompass like everything that is the Palaye world, and it's like a fully themed environment, almost like a goth Disneyland or something.
If you need a juggler, I'm there. Perfect. No, not really. If you want to, just going back a little bit, I know that you actually, I think Carl Barat actually opened for you this last tour, which is like your dream.
Crazy.
Literally,
you love the
my idol,
right?
Look at that smile right now. You can't even hide it.
I don't get this happy.
It was like, I think all of our favorite tour we've ever been on. It was like 2 weeks of just the craziest.
Yeah, Carl. We just flew in from Denver. We landed, and we landed at 5 p.m. You know, of course, we have a show in Denver one night. We had to fly to Glasgow, play a show the next night. I'm like, this makes no sense, but fine, we're going to do it. We get to the venue. Carl pulls up, and he's in his dressing room. I'm like, I'm going to go say hi. I'm like, guys, let's go. Knock on the door. I'm like, hey, we're so happy you're here. Thank you. He's like, yeah, of course. All right, cool. That's so cool. We met him. And like 2 seconds later, he comes banging on the door. He's like, boys, let's do a fucking shot. Let's go. And then I'm like, okay, cool. And it was a party for a week straight. Just him standing side stage with a bottle pouring us shots. I'm like, my hero literally is standing side stage watching every single show, asking about every song we have, like listening to demos.
It was so crazy. And just like even like backstage after the show, we were just like, he'd just be sitting with an acoustic guitar and we'd just be covering just Beatles songs, just, you know, just jamming and just having some wine and just like having some drinks and just like singing songs with each other. It was fucking.
I think before our European tour starts in January, we're gonna go. They have a hotel called the Albion Rooms. We're gonna.
The Libertines have their own hotel.
In Margate.
In Margate, and then I think they have an incredible studio there, and we're gonna go and write some songs with them, hang out. And,
Does Pete hang around there?
Yeah. So Pete and Carl knows how much like the Libertines have meant so much to me as you know, as a kid and growing up and everything. So on my birthday, I was so fucked up, and he's like FaceTimes me. I'm like, oh cool, Carl's FaceTiming me. Happy birthday. And he's like sitting there with Pete. He's like, hey mate, we just listened to the whole record. It's fucking sick. Like we love you guys. Can't wait to see. I'm like, this isn't real.
I hope you recorded that.
Oh yeah, it was funny. My mom was like over refilming. I'm like, this is the sickest thing.
And he's so drunk. He's like, one of his eyes twitches. Like, I thank you so much.
Amazing. Well, so you just toured with Youngblood. So how'd that going? And Mod Sun too.
It's interesting. It's like so. Doing the tour with Carl literally like a week after the Youngblood tour, and obviously because the pandemic's been such a heavy thing, and for the Youngblood tour, it was like, if you're not wearing a mask and you're
especially in
50
America,
feet away, like you couldn't even look at them if you weren't wearing a mask. It was the weirdest thing. So there's no hanging out. There was no like actual communication. The guitar player were really good friends. We couldn't even see each other. We had to like secretly like run away to like hang out with us. And he's like, don't tell anyone I'm here. But
the restrictions on the American tour, because it was the first tour in America,
right back.
Back. So the restrictions were crazy. And obviously, if anyone backstage got sick, that's 2 weeks off.
And that's so much money.
It was like such an incredible tour because we loved Dom so much.
The fans though were like that. If any tour for us to open up for, that makes sense. It's like we should just continue to grow our own community of our world and continue to make the shows a Palaye experience, because doing a tour like Dom's tour was awesome because it's like-minded fans that just want to discover new music.
Yeah.
And it's like if we went on a Måneskin tour, it'd be the same thing. And then, you know, we went and did the Korn tour, and you just have a bunch of people just being like,
yeah, because, you know, Korn fans aren't really there to discover a new act. They're there to listen to Korn, you know, I get it.
True.
But it's so crazy that then you see going on tour with Korn and seeing how a band can be in their 50s and Monkey and Hatter still going fucking ape shit. It's
fucking
insane.
Jonathan's voice is fucking insane, and they're going so fucking hard. Yeah. They're like one of the greatest fucking live bands. It's insane.
And I'm sure you get along so well with all these bands. It's interesting because I heard there was maybe like a little beef with like Ronnie Radke, but like every band I know, you're the nicest guy. So I can't imagine you not getting along with any band. But you did have a little something with him, right?
He's gonna use this and pick it right back up.
I think there should be like a boxing match. I think
that could be good.
No, my whole thing was we did a music video for Tennis and I Died. He had another music video come out like 4 months later, and it was the same location, same concept, same everything. I was like,
guess what? It fucking happens. It's LA. There's only so many fucking locations to choose from.
Why we stopped filming in LA. Like we just film in like Prague and Budapest and stuff like that, because like every location here is in every person's video. It's constantly just recycled. So
gotta find new places. It's big city.
And then Sebastian said like a fucking like a cheeky tweet to fucking Ronnie, and then he got so mad, and then we're just like, obviously this guy is so serious, but we were just We were just having so much fun with it.
I was like, all right, why don't we do, because it was during COVID, so you couldn't meet up or anything. I was like, why don't we do a rock, paper, scissors live stream? Whoever wins gets to keep the video up. Whoever loses has to take their video down. And he just kept
getting madder and madder, and we're just like,
dude,
does he not know that we're just joking? I was like, does he not understand?
I don't understand how anyone could take a rock, paper, scissors game as not a joke.
Exactly. He's a serious guy.
He's a serious
Even so, it's like, it's rock, paper, scissors. It's not like we're playing blackjack or poker or something.
But Emerson always says, he's like, yeah, you two will probably be in a room and be like best friends.
I feel like they secretly love each other. You know what I mean?
Well, speaking of videos, I think around the time this drops, Oblivion should be coming out.
Yes.
So let's talk about that video and also the tour dates that are just getting announced, because you do have some shows coming up too, right?
Yeah,
the Oblivion video is one of my favorites.
It's incredible.
We've ever done.
I have seen it, truth be told. I have to confess.
It's all shot in black and white in Prague, St. Charles Bridge, and the castle and stuff. We kind of used Prague as like the backdrop for this album, because like to us, it's like one of the very few places on this earth that feels like a fully encompassed Palaye Royale world. But yeah, that video is one of my favorites we've ever done.
Shout out to Ava. She did so fucking phenomenal.
It's amazing though, seeing the work ethic of when you go to Europe and you work with people there, and it was just everyone's happy on set, everyone's down to work.
I was miserable. I was so fucking sick.
Well, it was like 3 months of tour, and
it was 3 months of tour, and then also like
it started snowing.
I was completely sick. I was rocking like 103 fever.
Wow.
And then also like, for some reason, I just couldn't move my body in the morning. I was just like, guys, and I started like crying. I'm like, I can't move my fucking body. And then they're like, you really have no choice, but we really have to do the video. I was like, you guys are the fucking worst.
But it came out amazing, by the way. I don't think people know how difficult it is to tour, and we were just talking about the fact that, as you said, the tour manager quit, and Remington, I was a bit concerned because how's your mental health these days? I was concerned during the tour. I know it was hard.
It was really fucking rough. It was just no sleeping, and then obviously just constantly, just going meet and greet, VIP, doing the show, trying to meet kids after the show, not really knowing where you're going to sleep that night because the bus is so fucked. You can't really check into a hotel until like super fucking late. We finish our day at like probably 2 o'clock in the morning. I get at the hotel for like 2:30. I then maybe get 2 hours of sleep maximum before I have to get on a flight to the next city. And then it was just like, it was so draining. It was definitely.
It's already hard not knowing that you don't have a sense of home like when you're on the road. But when you have a tour bus, you're like, all right, cool. I have my bunk. Everything's kind of the same routine. You wake up, you get in the venue. But when it's like you're showing up to the venue, you're like, where's our bus? Oh yeah, it's still 400 miles away. Okay, where's the gear? Well, we don't know. Okay. Let's rent a car. Let's do this. And you're flying. We did 18 flights in 16 days.
Wow.
It's just.
And then
that'd be my worst nightmare.
Someone from our crew had strep throat, and they were in the same room as my suitcase, and kind of was like coughing on my clothes. And so
never good.
I get strep throat, and so the only way I can actually sing, because my voice was completely gone because of the strep, was I had to get shots every other day in like my shoulder and my fucking ass just to get like fucking like cortisone shots just to like take down some inflammation just so I can get some notes out. So I was like fucking dying. I was sick.
It was definitely a test to see how much we wanted to still do this. And, for us, it's like the last thing that we would ever want to do is like let down our fans or cancel a show. And I think we've maybe canceled 2 shows in our entire career or something like that.
Yeah, I saw that. And I was concerned. I was with you in Europe when you got sick, so I remember that and all. But I'm glad you're better. I mean, you seem great now. And so the tour's coming up.
Yeah.
It's funny. I think at the Palladium you started out by No Love in L.A. You're like, this is not directed towards your, this audience.
Yeah.
We love you, L.A.
Yeah.
But you love the LA fans. And let's talk a little bit about the tour coming up.
Yeah, we're doing Mexico City. We have 2 shows. One sold out in like 10 hours.
About that.
Yeah, we're leaving like a week. But yeah, Mexico City sold out in like 10 hours. And we're like, sick. Let's add a second night. Sold out. I'm like, sick. This is awesome. Europe, we're doing like Lithuania, Romania, Czech Republic, like
Istanbul,
literally 26.
Greece.
We're doing
so
26 countries in Europe from January through April, or end of March or whatever, and it's half the tour is sold out, and it's like some of these places we've never been, and it's like 4,000 caps on our first time being there. I'm like, the European crowd has been so good to us, and like the UK in London, we went from like 250 to 1,500, 2,000, 3,500, now to 5,000. I'm like, it's crazy because you're like, all right, cool, let's keep on going up. And in anything in life, you're like, oh, okay, there has to be a plateau, but it just keeps on going. I'm like,
we keep looking at each other
connecting.
like, this is way too big. We can't. This is such a gamble. We cannot fucking play this venue. And then they're like, I was like, what are the tickets at? They're like, you're at 85% sold out. I was like, oh my God. I'm like,
America was
we really
is a
keep
lot
faking it
more
until we
difficult.
make it over there, and it somehow keeps working. So it's fucking mind blowing. I fucking love Europe. I love the UK. You guys really understand us. America, got a little bit to go.
Well, I'm manifesting, but for the Forum show that will happen one day,
It will happen.
I'm bringing Daniel to that show
Fantastic.
for sure.
Fantastic.
So Fever Dream, just out. Check out the record. Check out the tour. I'm excited that you're in town. I can hang out with you now a little bit. I feel like I'm seeing you right after this too. So
I know.
Daniel, this was fun. We have to do
it was
this
a
again.
blast. Good hangs as the year rolls down. I'm sure you guys are going to be on some good year-end lists as well. I mean, you guys made a great record. And
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's a lot more. You guys have a lot more music in you, and it's exciting to hear what comes next.
Yeah.
I've already finished pretty much a little bit of the next record.
There you go.
And me and Daniel will be wearing makeup and 3-piece suits next time.
I cannot wait.
But the thing you don't forget, you got to get a new tour manager.
I know. We're trying out one guy in Europe, or when we're in Mexico City, to see if he's for Europe.
He was the tour manager for the
Because
Libertines.
you don't want to do that again.
I can't. I just want to enjoy music and enjoy not. I want to sleep for one.
No, but if we have the guy that tour
I feel like
manages the
Sebastian
Libertines, he
secretly
can
likes
handle
the
that.
stress, though. Sebastian loves when he's stressed out.
Yeah, he does.
One of those.
God, I hate this.
Yeah, he does.
All right, well, guys, always a pleasure to see you. Thanks
you
for
so
coming
much,
in as
Scott.
always.
Thank you, Daniel.
The 5th time you come in, you'll be playing the Forum.
I like that.
I like that.
All right,
I
thanks,
like
guys.
that. We're
Always
gonna be
good to see you.
headlining the forum.
Headline.
There you go.
Got to see, manifest it the right way.